Hi everybody. So as Fiona said, I'm not here tonight to talk about CSS. I'm here to talk about how I changed careers from being a journalist with the ABC for the last 6 years to now being a full-time web developer. And I realise that most of the people in this audience are probably already developers, but I'm hoping this will still be somewhat of interest to you because maybe you're currently a front-end dev and you're looking at learning more about the back end, or maybe you've got a friend or a family member who's really interested in learning how to code, but they're not quite sure where to begin or what steps to take or what's achievable in a short space of time. So I want to start by giving you a little bit of background and context as to what I was actually doing at the ABC and why I made this decision to change careers. So as Fiona said, I started out as a journalist with ABC News Online, which is based in Brisbane. And there I was covering sort of major national and international news stories. And then a couple of years ago, I moved to Sydney, where I started working with the ABC's fact-checking unit. Now, what we would do in the fact-checking unit is we would take claims made by politicians, and we would do a lot of in-depth, sort of like rigorous research into these claims, and we would give them a rating as to whether or not the claim was truthful, or whether maybe they were being misleading, or whether they were just sort of outright wrong. And in this research, we would uncover a lot of really interesting data. So I started to get really excited about receiving this data and looking into it and finding out what story it told. But because I wasn't a developer and I was the only digital person in a small team, I didn't have the skills to do anything amazing with this data. So as you can see, I could just whip together something in Excel, but I couldn't code anything really cool. So I guess this is what sparked my initial interest in learning how to program. And so a friend of mine who was a developer at the ABC suggested that I go along to this event called Rails Girls, which is where I wrote my very first line of code back in 2013. And for those of you who don't know, Rails Girls is it's a short sort of 2-day workshop for women who are interested in learning how to program. And so you learn a little bit of Ruby and you build a really simple Rails app like this one. And so for some reason, I don't know what it was that day, but I became hooked. I just wanted to learn more. Maybe it was being able to change the color of the heading to blue, or just create a really simple basic blog. But whatever it was, I was hooked, and I remember at the time kind of kicking myself for not having started learning to program earlier. So I spent the following year learning how to code in my spare time. And what I did was I signed up for a part-time front-end course with General Assembly, which focused on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and that was awesome. I also got one of the senior developers at the ABC to give me some JavaScript tutoring, and I went along to some more Rails Girls workshops. But none of this was enough. At the end of 2014, I still wasn't confident enough to be implementing these skills in my role at the ABC. I wasn't confident enough to build something from start to finish, so I felt like I needed something more intense. And I had heard from a few people that General Assembly did this full-time web development immersive course. So I became really interested in that. But the problem was that it went for 12 weeks full-time, which meant obviously no salary. You couldn't work for that period. And it was really expensive. So what I did was I built a little website to try and convince the ABC to support me to do this course. So I interviewed journalists from the New York Times, from the Australian Financial Review, from the Guardian. I spoke to people sort of all around the world to try and say why it was important for me to learn these skills. And when I put this to the ABC, they agreed to support me. So they gave me the 12 weeks leave, and they agreed to give $5,000 towards the course, which most of you probably know that the ABC's had a bit of a bit of a budget crisis, and so that was quite a rare thing for them to give $5,000 to one individual, to go off and just do this course for 12 weeks. So at the start of this year, that's what I did. And about 6 weeks into the course, I realised that I didn't want to go back to the ABC. And like the reasons for that were kind of twofold. So firstly, during the course, I was having so much fun. And I would sort of go to school and I'd be so happy. I wouldn't be able to stop smiling. And, you know, despite having been up all night working on a project and only having had like 2 hours sleep. And, you know, the other reason was because I knew that if I was to try and take these skills back to my role at the ABC and implement them there, you know, I wouldn't have a mentor. I wouldn't have anyone to help me refactor my code. I wouldn't have anyone to pair program with. I'd be kind of doing it on my own, and I'd be trying to squeeze these skills in along with like all of my other duties, so like social media and being a digital producer, etc. So I told the ABC that I was going to resign, and I paid them back the $5,000. And now I'm a full-time web developer with a really cool company called Ansarada, and you should all go away and Google them after this and see what they do. But I guess what I most wanted to share with you tonight was just a couple of lessons that I've learned in my journey. So first of all, the most important thing for me has been like getting involved in all of the meetups and in all of the community events that are happening in Sydney for developers. So I would 100% not be where I am today if it wasn't for the fact that I attended Rails Girls, attended SydJS, attended meetings like SydCSS, and went to General Assembly and just like went to Roro and DevHub and went to all of these things that were happening and just kind of met people along the way who were then there to support me later when I needed them. And secondly is to know when to ask for help. So, if you're stuck on something, if you're feeling like you're not progressing as quickly as you want to be, use those people that you've met along the way, like reach out to them and ask for help. And like the thing that I've realized is that the dev community in Sydney is so awesome. Like everyone here is so lovely. They really want you to succeed. Like they want you to learn. They want you to do really, really well. And so if you ask for help, like people are happy to do that for you. So that's really all I wanted to say. If you have any questions or if you want to get in touch, there's my Twitter handle and I'll be hanging around afterwards if you want to come and chat. Thank you.